What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 3 of Summit S33ker with your host, Chris. Whew, another week in the books. As you can probably tell, this week looks a little bit different. I have had a scenery change, which can only mean one thing, and that is good news. We have been discharged from the rehab center, but we'll get into all of that. Just main thing, y'all gonna notice it right off the jump. So I made it. Free Chris indeed happened. So thank y'all for the hashtags. Free the leg also happened. So we'll get into that a little bit later as well. But I just wanted to say thank you for all the support over the last 6 weeks, from surgery to post-op to rehab center. A lot of people really helped me make it through this tough part, whether it was my friends, my family, my therapist. I'm gonna give y'all all y'all flowers later on and throughout this episode, but just wanted to start out with the obvious good news that we have a window here now. We have a couch here, so I'm definitely excited to talk about the last few weeks and where life has kind of taken us. So, rewinding back to surgery and what that entailed, it was honestly something that kind of threw me for a loop, as I mentioned last week. And once I spent my week at Kaiser, then I transferred over to an acute rehab facility, and that is where you go to essentially undergo rigorous therapy for whatever traumatic injury that you've had. So different types of patients can range from injuries such as mine to stroke patients or people that were in car accidents that need just some sort of guidance and therapy on debilitating injuries so that they can smoothly transition back into life outside of the rehab facility and go about their lives in the normal world. So, to be honest with you, I was not excited about going to rehab because when I was at Kaiser, they said, well, this place, you're going to be doing 3 hours of rigorous rehab a day. And that is the last thing that you want to tell a depressed person, because the last thing they want to do is move. So I had a couple therapy sessions at Kaiser between OT and PT, occupational therapy and physical therapy for those who are unfamiliar. And they had not gone as I'd hope, just because I wasn't in a space mentally or physically to be able to do what they were requesting of me. So I just got down on myself, was really frustrated with the process, but understood that this transferring to this rehab facility was only going to help me and it was only going to do wonders for my recovery. But still a little bit apprehensive just because I was not in the mood to be touched. I was not in the mood to be moved. But I will say that it was the best decision for me at the time, and that is why Kaiser made it. I'm happy I was able to get into a facility with a limited number of beds, so I was extremely fortunate to sneak in there. And that is something that happened 2 hours before my 33rd birthday. So for anybody out there that knows me, usually for my birthday, we're going out to eat, we're going out to maybe a bar, so a lounge, going to a movie, whatever it is. I just want to be around my friends. I want to hang out with people, be around good energy. You have, at this time, my parents around, and I just want to be around things that make me feel comfortable and grateful for what I'm going through at whatever point in my life. And most years, it's nothing. I'm just grateful to be around everybody. This year was a little bit different. So it's something that I was definitely happy to have my parents around for. My birthday was very different this year. I was confined to the hospital bed, but I had a small group of people there that really meant a lot to me. And we didn't do anything special. We honestly just had food, we had cake, and we had some snacks, and we watched, I think, some basketball games or something that was going on. But it just goes to show you that you don't need a lot to be grateful for, and you don't need all these grandiose things to feel alive and appreciate it. And for those of you out there who do need those things, by all means, please continue whatever makes you feel important, whatever makes you feel appreciated and grateful. Continue to seek those things out. Everybody's on their own journey, and that's nothing that I want to take away from anybody. But this year really reminded me that I don't need a lot to be happy. And I'm very grateful for the people that showed up for me via text, via phone call, via in person, the small group that I did have, because it really did mean a lot to me, especially when I was at a low point. But fun little story. Checking into a rehab facility is it's an arduous process, because when I was leaving the Kaiser, which was my surgical facility, I had a lot of things going on. I had low blood count. I had a lot of issues internally from the surgery that hadn't been resolved yet. So the check-in process was pretty invasive, is the word I'll use. Definitely not how I expected to spend my birthday. I had running jokes with the nurses because they were poking me, swabbing me, all these things literally 2 hours before I was about to turn 33 years old. Wake up in the morning, first thing, 4 a.m., got heparin, which is a blood thinner, a shot right in my abdomen. So that is something that I will forever remember. And I'm grateful for those people because I want to give a shout out to the nurses out there. I was very fortunate to have outstanding nurses around the clock. And for anybody out there who is a nurse, I am forever indebted to you all as a community, as a society, because you all really do work that is unseen, unheard, and underappreciated, because I had no idea the scope of work that nurses do. And now being in the position to where I've been working closely with them for 6 weeks, I completely understand all the frustration. I completely understand all the things when you're not being treated fairly, because it is warranted. You're not just here to give out pills. You're not just here to give out shots. You are a person's lifeline. And I was fortunate enough to still be mentally there, cognitively able, physically able to be able to do a lot of things for myself. But seeing some of the patients that I was in rehab with, nurses are their lifeline, and we depend on nurses a lot. So anybody out there that is a nurse, again, thank you for your service. If you haven't heard thank you from your patients today or recently, I will tell you thank you, because I completely empathize with everything that y'all go through, because I was a recipient of the bowel movements, that helping, the cleaning, the urinals, which I had to urinate into for the last 6 weeks because I couldn't get up and use it myself, and nurses being there to do all of that around the clock on the call of a button. So thank you all out there. I appreciate you all. And again, if you haven't heard it yet, thank you for your service, and please continue to do what you can. And I hope that your patients treat you with the same respect that you deserve. But moving on, getting into a bit of a daily routine. As I mentioned, I had that shot of heparin at 4 a.m. So the daily routine in a rehab facility is pretty intense. So, for example, my routine from start to finish would roughly look like this. Around 3:30 or 4, they would come in and take vitals to make sure everything was good. Is your blood pressure good? Is your blood oxygen good? And they would check your urine levels to see obviously what color, how much you urinated, so they could chart it all to keep tabs on everything. Then you're up about 30 minutes later, your nurse is going to come in and give you a shot of heparin, which again is a blood thinner to make sure I didn't have any blood clots, because at the time I wasn't able to get up and move around. Go back to sleep for about an hour. 6 o'clock, they come back in, they take vitals again just to make sure everything is good. 7 o'clock, breakfast comes, and breakfast varied. It was, my favorite meal was pancakes, eggs, and turkey sausage. And I would have coffee or an orange juice or something simple. Right after that, 8 o'clock, therapy starts. So I'm not going to name any of my therapists by name, but you all are watching this, and I appreciate each and every one of you as well, because y'all honestly made the experience so much better. Again, as I mentioned, I was very apprehensive in going to rehab because I had failed at Kaiser and being able to move, and I wasn't happy with my progress. But everybody over at my rehab facility worked with me day in and day out. They understood that we're not going to be able to go from 1 to 10, aka normal, because I had my X fix in, but we were damn sure going to get from 1 to 5 and make it the best 5 that we possibly could. So therapy would start at 8. We would come in the room, we would stretch out my leg, we would get some hip mobility going on. We stretch out my Achilles, because due to my foot drop, my Achilles every night actually tightens. So imagine this is my Achilles right here, and it tightens because my foot is like this. So we have to stretch it back out, make sure everything is good there. So my first step when I'm actually healthy does not snap my Achilles, because that would not be ideal in the recovery process. But about an hour there of just making sure things are going well, a lot of blood flow, making sure that the blood is going down to my foot. But honestly, that was a huge pain point for me at the beginning because this is my first time standing up or elevating my leg and de-elevating my leg to see where the blood was going without me getting lightheaded and potentially passing out like I was at the previous facility. So it was just a grind of making sure that first appointment that I had with the therapist, we really got after it because I've been in bed for the last 12 to 16 hours. And y'all know me for being active. That's the last thing that I'm accustomed to doing. So that first session, knock that out hour. Then I will go back to the room, get back into the bed for a little bit. And then another session will usually kick off around 10:30 or 11. More of the same, some mobility work. We would get it up on the parallel bars. I would try to stand for 15-second intervals at a time for that first week. And throughout the rest of the process with the parallel bars, I would just be standing for increments of 15 to 30 seconds each time, each session that I had per day. So eventually building up to being able to stand on my own without passing out. So that was a journey because some days, again, you might get 15 extra seconds, and then you have to sit right back down because your body's just not accustomed to it because you're spending legit 16 to 18 hours a day in a bed, which is completely different than anything I've been accustomed to. But the next thing on the list would be lunch at 12 o'clock. Lunch would come in and I would kind of just hang out, be watching AMC. The horror marathon movies were going on and everything. So that really kept me going. The next therapy session would be in the afternoon, and this one was occupational therapy. So in the occupational therapy space, you have what's called ADLs, which are activities of daily living. So simple things, brushing your hair, washing your face, putting on your clothes, all those things that you would need in a normalized setting. They want to help you learn those things so you know what to do when you go back home. So that would be my space in which I could brush my teeth and, put on my deodorant and change clothes, all of these different things that help me through this period of not being as hygienic as I would want to be, but definitely very important. So my OT knew as well, we got down on a routine where, look, we'll do this, this, and this. And then sometimes, hey, today I'm not feeling it. So just being there for me during my good days and my bad days. So again, all my therapists around the clock when we had our sessions, thank you all, because I honestly was in such a dark place when I got to the rehab facility, but y'all just stuck with me every day and just made sure I stayed on top of my game and forced me to get better. And that is something that results in the smile on my face today because I'm in a much better space thanks to you all and the nursing staff and the doctors. And I can't thank y'all enough for the position that y'all have put me in and setting me up for success now that I am back at home. But with that being said, it's just rehab is tough and you really have to dig into the mentality of falling in love with the grind because you have to find energy in the routine. You have to find energy in the community that you're with. I was very fortunate enough to meet a lot of great people, other patients, sometimes as much as 60 years my senior, where they would be going through something different, but they're still cognitively there. So we would have conversations. I would be able to ask them things about their lives or their injuries and really just build a bond over shared experiences. And this time it was something that wasn't a shared joy. It was a shared misery because we're all just in a state of pain, whether it's physical or mental, and we want to just get better. And we would be in the gym at odd hours of the day. Sometimes it would be gym is packed. There's a lot of energy. Other times it's just you and another person, but really leaning on other people who are in the same situation and finding that common ground because sometimes your smile may save somebody else's day and vice versa. So make sure if you're in a position to be able to reach out and support others because sometimes you may help them without even realizing that you're helping them. But that was one of the most rewarding things, honestly, about therapy was having conversations with a woman who was in her 90s and we would just crack jokes and she was still so witty. And another guy who was in his 80s, same thing, super witty from New York, had the mouth of a sailor. He's just, swearing this, swearing that. But it's just, you come to love it because it just makes the experience so much better because it makes you realize that these people have gone through so much and they've lived so much life, but they still find a way to laugh. They still find a way to enjoy what they're going through and being able to crack jokes for everybody in the room or things like that. It was a very rewarding and fulfilling experience for me. And I think that was something that really helped me get through the tough times, was knowing that I was not alone in that limbo stage or just trying to get better. But that was honestly pretty much the gist of it. It was just every day felt like Groundhog Day. You would get up, you would do the same thing. At nighttime, pretty much after you wind down, I would have guests come by. Sometimes my parents were actually there a lot for the first couple of weeks because my dad was still in town. And just, everybody would come by and try to just be as cordial as they can, as nice as they can, because I'm obviously in a different state than what they're used to seeing me, so they don't want to step on any toes or make me feel a certain type of way. But definitely grateful for them, because as with the therapists and the doctors and the nurses, that support system that I have is very, very strong. So they were able to just be there by my side on the good days, on the bad days, and that's something that I will forever be indebted for, because they helped me out of a very, very deep hole. And I'm not talking about just shining a flashlight to make sure I can see where to put my hands if I'm climbing up, metaphorically, but pulling me out of it, just saying, no, Chris, come on, like, get your ass up, let's go, like, this ain't you. So definitely grateful for that, because again, they're another reason for the smile on my face today, is because I can stand here and say, or sit here rather, and say I'm a much better man because of it. And I'm trying my best every day now to continue to be a better brother, to continue to be a better uncle, continue to be a better son, to continue to be a better partner. All of these things that have really been put into a little bit of a different light in terms of my focus and prioritization for life. So take it from me, you don't want to go through something traumatic to have that happen. So I would just say every week, or sometimes every day if you need to, just take inventory of how you're feeling. Am I showing up for the people who would show up for me, who are showing up for me? Am I being a good listener? Am I being an active listener? Do I know when somebody comes to me with an issue, am I here to solve the problem, or am I here to listen to the problem? Because being able to determine which one will make your friendships, your relationships go a lot further. So just continue to always ask yourself, am I being the best version of myself that I can possibly be? And how am I staying off of autopilot so that I can remain present and I can turn my brain's record button on to remember these memories with these people and with these situations, because autopilot is everywhere in 2024. It's in our phones. It's when we wake up in the morning, our brains are just like, oh, here we go again, just kind of hamster on the wheel. But I challenge everybody out there, like I usually say, press that record button. Make sure you're recording these memories, because you won't get them back. My record button was off for the first couple of weeks, and I repressed the memories of being depressed and not being at myself best, but in a way that's good, in a way that's bad. But again, I lived through it, and I'm continuing to be a better man because of it. But with that being said, that was pretty much the routine for the month that I was in rehab. And the last week, we finally got the X fix out. So your boy is hardware free. Everybody on my Instagram, you've seen it over this last week that we got the X fix out. So that procedure in itself was very interesting. I chose not to go into the operating room and do it in the clinic. So they just hit me with a regional cryo anesthetic and literally just unscrewed the screws from my leg. So coming out of the bones, coming out of the muscles. Fun fact, my orthopedic surgeon who actually put it in told me that he's never seen bone density like mine, which is why one of the rods actually broke off. So I have a small piece of it that's actually still inside my tibia and that I'll have forever. So little fun fact, but something to just say, hey man, after everything else I've been through, this will be my reminder of me going through this. But that pretty much kicked off the next phase, which was hardware removal and MRI results. Because now that I've gotten my MRI, I know what ligament damage is done. And that will be the topic of episode 4, because we've got a long road to go, and we've already gone a very long way. So I'm not sure what it looks like, but I'm glad you're all along for the ride. Please comment, like, subscribe. If you're enjoying the journey, share with everybody else, and have a great week. I'll talk to y'all on the next one. Peace.